For the first time in Canadian history, a group of young Canadians have conducted their own Citizens Royal Commission, called the Underground Royal Commission Report. They have produced a series of 16 books and 14 videos that are changing the way people understand their own country. The Ottawa Sun declares the Underground Royal Commission should not be ignored. This series of books, videos, and discussion forums is the clarion call for reform of our institutions.
I had always known there was something wrong with our system of government, but the books articulated very well for me how many things are wrong, just why it is wrong, and the genesis of where it went wrong.
And quiet strength of the Canada that I love.
This is really good stuff. I watched the initial viewing on my treadmill and did a whole bunch of extra miles without even noticing. I got so incensed. This is serious stuff. Any person that plans to contribute to the foreign and defense policy reviews of this nation should be obliged to watch this series, locked in a padded room, screen on the wall, tied to their seat, and watch the entire series. They don't have to agree with it.
Does your vote count?
All those in favor of the motion will please rise.
As a documentary, it's great. There's a lot of positive things to the video, especially for students. The content is very straightforward and really easy to understand for the students, and very accessible for them.
Our politicians go to Ottawa. Then what happens?
It also asks the questions that students are beginning to ask themselves about politics and the challenges that they have for politics and politicians as well.
The premiere of the documentary series, Does Your Vote Count?, the final installment in the Underground Royal Commission report, took place in Ottawa in the autumn of 2003. More than 300 people attended, including civil servants, over 70 members of parliament, senators, numerous past, present, and future senior government ministers, and a former Prime Minister.
Good morning, Mr. Turner.
Senator, how are you?
My support of the Underground Royal Commission, Does Your Vote Count? I support it because it acts as a catalyst for discussion and change. It has long been the subject of discussion among parliamentarians. It's essential that citizens understand the implications of the weakness of Parliament and indeed the legislatures for themselves. If the people of our provinces and the people of our country have a feeling that their member is going to have something to say up there, is going to be able to represent them effectively up there, is not going to be silenced or blackmailed up there, then I think we're going to get a resuscitation of interest in our democracy, a flourishing at the electoral poll booth, and a restoration of participation by Canadians back in the process. If those whom we elect show that they are reflecting on why they were elected and why they are there and who they represent and who they're responsible for and to, then we will restore what I believe at the moment is a weaker democracy. Thank you very much.
Shows like this are really educating young people about what's going on, and it's really important.
When you're learning it from, chalkboard, it's kind of hard to picture in your mind, but when you actually see the MPs and you see what they're doing and where they're doing it, it makes it a lot easier to take something away.
It helped me a lot just to learn about voting and the Parliament and what it's really like, because a lot of things are not explained well enough to us in school. So,
before the video, I was unaware of the struggle that the MPs have from day to day in Parliament between their own conscience, the constituents that have voted them in, and also the pressure to follow their party's following. And I think that's the part that I found the most shocking.
In one line, sum up your feelings of Does Your Vote Count, the film, for us.
Cuts through the bullshit to challenge people to do something about our democracy.
I think this is probably the most comprehensive compilation of the barriers to citizen participation and democratic representative government that I've ever seen or read. And it's like an alarm going off for Canadians that if we do not respond now, if we do not grasp the seriousness of the situation, we could lose our democratic institutions.
I'd like to congratulate you gentlemen for doing a wonderful job with these 3 videos. I think that you really have hit it on. You are truly performing a wonderful public service here. Now what has to happen is we have to have wider distribution.
For a lot of Canadians, increasingly, who are opting to turn their back on democracy and not to even exercise their right to vote, they obviously don't believe their vote counts. So we need to fix that, and I think that the Underground Royal Commission's work in putting together this documentary and studying this issue in such an erudite way is a rallying cry to all Canadians who are concerned about the future of our democracy to do something about it.
Okay.
I think you're doing a real job in the Underground Royal Commission of getting this issue out to the people. And I think it's a potentially big issue, and the people don't quite understand yet, but they feel that something's wrong. They feel that something's not working. Now, I can understand why people don't want to vote. Parliament is now irrelevant, and maybe the legislatures are irrelevant. So why bother?
How do we change that culture where people just say, oh, that's boring?
Being a free country does not happen by accident. And we're starting to take things for granted. And that's where you come in. You've got to help wake us up again.
If you were going to show Does Your Vote Count to any constituency in Canada, who would you think should first see this show?
I'd show it to university students. I'd show it to youth groups. I'd take it on the road.
And that is exactly what the Underground Royal Commission has begun to do. The URC is hosting student forums in Canada's high schools.
Today is for us, the students, and to expand our minds in regards to our own government, as well as an opportunity to have our opinions heard. So I invite everyone to approach today with an open...
In the last few years of a growing discontent on the part of the public.
The URC is also holding debates at university campuses.
In a cross-country journey to discover some of the problems facing Canada at the time.
Making presentations of its work to high-ranking civil servants and politicians. And tackling the issues facing this country at public forums with panels that include academics, journalists, and experts.
This is a very Canadian discussion we're having because what we're focusing on,
as well as former diplomats and cabinet ministers.
If you're right,
all with the goal of educating and engaging students and citizens of all ages.
How do you get the message across to people? This is how you get the message across to people. You get it out of Ottawa and you get it on television and you produce these kinds of shows and you produce the shows that this organization has produced before, The Question of Honor, that grips people and people see it and people pay attention.
What I like about this particular series is a beginning to look at defining the problem so we can turn to our leadership and say, here's your problem. You haven't defined it before in this detail. Will you please come up with some solutions to these problems? Because it's out of our hands. We've elected you. You're our leadership. Now please solve this problem. And when you come back and say, there aren't any problems, everything's fine, we don't believe you. And here's the proof.
Professor Donald Savoy, acclaimed author and advisor to several prime ministers, endorsed the work of the URC. The videos and books would make excellent teaching tools. I strongly urge you to contact all the schools of public administration and all departments of political science in Canada.
Well, I think it's really good that it's getting into the school system. I'm a teacher by trade, and I think good, that's where it needs to get. It needs to filter down to young people, and they need to take hold and take back their country.
Our role with these documentaries, these books, the university courses, the website, the programming on iChannel, and so much more material that will go into the secondary school curriculum and on, is part of a citizen's effort to turn on the light of greater understanding.
The Underground Royal Commission needs support in order to continue to inform and involve Canadians, so that they become active citizens, so that Canada can be a stronger country in this 21st century.